Hotel History is created for adult audiences. Content may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. You're listening to Hotel History. We take you with us through the sordid history and scandals of some of the world's most famous and infamous hotels. I'm Dieta.
And I'm Yael. Let's get started.
Welcome to the second episode of Season 4. Today we have an interview with a hotelier on the other side of the world in Nairobi, Kenya. So let's get started. Let's start with having you tell us who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
My name's Shamim Ehsani, and I am co-founder of Tribe Hotels Group in Nairobi, Kenya. And I'm excited to be on your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So how did this idea come about? Where does the story start?
So the hotel part of the story starts with my elder brother, who it was out of frustration almost. It was, we had a consultant who was coming to Nairobi to visit one of our other family businesses. And he was tasked with finding a hotel for the consultant, and there wasn't anything decent available with any close proximity to where we are. And the area that we're in Nairobi, it's in the north of the city, and it's the diplomatic district. So there's a lot of embassies around us. There's the United Nations headquarters around us. And so it seemed, to him, it seemed like an odd thing that there wouldn't be a decent hotel close by. And so he had the idea to put up a hotel. And so we started working on it. And he's more of the sort of project deal guy. He gets excited about the initial stages of the project and doing the numbers and everything. And this is my elder brother. My younger brother's also in the business now. And I'm sort of more maybe on the creative side, I suppose. But we've both started working on ideas for the hotel sort of as soon as he said that.
That's so important to have both sides of that coin. You need the creative and you need the analytical. So that worked out great for your family.
Yeah.
There's only three of you, so you're all involved in it?
The three brothers, my dad's involved, my uncle is the architect. My mom collected all the art pieces for the hotels.
That's amazing.
It's a collection of over 900 pieces, which took her about 5 years to amass.
Wow.
So
that's actually, I feel like a short amount of time for that many pieces.
Yeah, it was like a shopping haul.
How did she do that? Is she an artist, or is she like a art expert?
She's definitely creative. I think she's tried her hand at art in the past and maybe didn't have the patience for it. But she certainly has a very good eye, and her and my father are both very much into art. And so I think the two of them together sort of took this on as a passion project. And it really went crazy.
In a good way.
Totally.
So what brought your family to Nairobi to begin with?
So our family is originally from Iran. And because our family are Baha'i and we're not Muslim, we're persecuted in Iran. And therefore, when the revolution started in Iran at the end of 1979, they decided to leave the country, like a lot of Persians who are all over the world now. And so at the time, my uncle, Mehruz, was actually in Kenya already because he was a lecturer at UC Berkeley in the 70s. And UC Berkeley had sent him to Nairobi to set up the School of Architecture here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so my parents came to visit him with the intention of actually moving to Australia. But when they got to Kenya, they stayed here for a couple of months and they just loved it. My mom said that she fell in love with the trees. And I think for my dad, obviously, it was nice to have family here, um, especially because they had left my dad's parents back in Iran because they didn't want to leave.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that must have been really difficult
Yeah.
to split the family up.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah, for sure.
a big Persian community in Nairobi?
Now it's actually pretty sizable. Like we have maybe 4 or 5 Persian restaurants at the moment in Nairobi.
Oh, wow.
But back when I was growing up, it was like a handful of families, maybe 5 families
That's
Wow.
in the whole country.
That's so interesting. That's not like where I imagine a lot of Persians settle. Like I'm from New York and I grew up with all my friends were Persian. So it's like Great Neck, New York and Brooklyn and then LA. That's like what I think of.
I think every Persian in the diaspora has a relative in Great Neck in LA.
Yeah. Do you have family?
Absolutely, yeah.
So growing up, how did you kind of incorporate, like hold on to your Persian identity with such a small group, but also still kind of become, part of Kenya, part of Nairobi, because that's, where you grew up?
I mean, I think it was very important to my parents that we retained, our Persian heritage. And I've actually never been to Iran. My younger brother's never been to Iran. And so for us, things like language and sort of the more nuanced side of the culture, we don't really get because we've never been there. But we get our share from being in LA quite often. And yeah, as much as we can. I mean, growing up, I'd actually seek it out. I'd want to, if I heard people speaking Farsi, and wherever I was in Florence or any city in the world, I'd go and like sit next to them just so I could hear people speak Farsi. Yeah, I think it was important for my parents that we kept that connection. My mom, as much as possible, spoke to us in Farsi, whereas my dad spoke to us mostly in English.
Yeah, keeping that connection is really important.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful language. So you guys are Persian and did you get used to the culture like easily in Nairobi? How was that like melting pot for different cultures there?
So Nairobi is a very easy city to live in because everyone kind of gets along very easily. But that said, like obviously there are some, there's just a natural sort of magnetism for people of the same type or the same background to hang out together. So there's a very large Indian community. There's obviously the majority is indigenous Kenyans, and then there's a lot of sort of old British families and European families who moved here. Some of them, 100 years ago or more. And because I didn't fit into any of those 3 of the sort of big categories growing up, it was very easy for me to move between the groups and have friends from all the different groups, which, yeah, it made actually growing up here a lot of fun because I was exposed to many different sides of it.
So before Tribe, have you worked in hospitality before?
No, never. So our family business was in real estate. So we were real estate developers. My dad had built a shopping mall, and we started sort of thinking about the hotel in 2003 when my elder brother and I moved back to Nairobi from Boston, where we both had gone to school. And so before that, neither of us had worked in hospitality. And when we came back, we just joined the family business and sort of helped out with things here. And we were complete novices, had no idea what we were doing at all.
That must have been interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we knew that we liked hotels. We knew that we liked traveling. what we did do is we came up with a list of 20 things that we hated about hotels.
Can you share that list?
Yeah, some of the top ones that you knew you had to
maybe
address.
not all 20, but yeah, the top ones.
I mean, a big one for us is shower pressure. If there is an adequate shower pressure, that's a huge one,
That
and
is
still is a big one for me.
Yeah, I know we're about to agree with everything you say.
Yeah.
Well, there are some that were more relevant when we started. Like, we didn't want to charge for Wi-Fi, and at the time, I remember we stayed in a hotel. I think it was in Boston or somewhere else, and it was like $36 a day for Wi-Fi.
Whoa.
We just thought it was so extortionate, and so when we were building our hotel, we said we don't want to be that type of property. Like, that's a cost that we want to absorb. And it became, more and more the list came around a couple of themes, and one of those themes was generosity and the feeling of really being generous with the offering and not giving people the feeling that they're being nickel and dimed at every turn. So we wanted a room service menu that was approachable and not, eye gouging when you look at it. The mini bar, we always felt like, because both of us had experiences where, you get to the checkout counter, the checkout desk, and you're accused of taking something from the mini bar. And it's just like, it's such a sour final impression that you have of the hotel, where you're being falsely accused of stealing or lying. And we just didn't want to have that last impression. So we said, well, let's give a free mini bar. And we kind of factored it into
I remember growing up with the impression that if I even touched something in the mini bar, it would bankrupt my family.
Exactly. Yeah. Same here.
Why is that? Because the stuff in the mini bar, I mean, some places have really nice stuff, but like the generic like soda and mini whiskey or whatever, I'm like, this doesn't cost a lot of money. And if you go to Costco, how much is it really costing the hotel that you have to charge like $10 for one little drink? I always wondered about
$16 for water.
Yeah. But, and then even in the gift shop, it's cheaper. So
it's all around like betting on people being lazy and charging for convenience. It just feels it's sort of like a very wrong way of looking at things, in my opinion. It's negative profit, charging people and giving them bad taste afterwards, and it's just not the type of business that we should be doing. I think from our perspective as well, we wanted to go back to sort of the original idea behind hospitality, that if you're even to like a Bedouin tribe almost, that if you come across a Bedouin tribe, they don't care where you're from. They don't care what you believe in. If you come across a Bedouin tribe in the desert, they will feed you, give you a place to sleep, make sure you feel like you're part of the family, and the next day they'll send you on your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that actually leads into my next question, was how you chose the name Tribe Hotel, but you set that up so nicely.
Yeah.
So it was very much around that kind of theme. But at the time when we opened and we were just about to open the hotel, about 9 months before we opened, there was a general election in Kenya, which turned very violent. And thousands of people were killed. And the conflict was all around tribal lines. And it was all, different tribes in Kenya voting for their own candidate. And it turned violent and it turned bloody. And it was a very unfortunate time for Kenya, and a painful time in its history as well. And so we said that, right, we're the first hotel to open in Nairobi in 30 years. That's already making a statement. How do we continue with sort of presenting this statement and really sending a message across the country about the direction that we see the country needing to move forward in? And that was one of unity. And so we came up with a tagline that said, "One planet, one tribe," just to sort of emphasize the idea of what we meant by tribe. Because in Kenya at the time, it was actually quite a dirty word. It was something that people really reacted to. I even had an elderly lady stop me on the steps one day and say, "How dare you call it tribe? Don't you know what that word has done to this country? And when I explained to her what the idea was behind it, she was thrilled and she was so happy. She gave me a big hug. She said, "Okay, you do your thing." I said, "Okay, thank you." You can call it tribe. Thank you.
She gives you permission.
Exactly.
That's beautiful, though. It's like you're redefining the word or what the association was in Kenya.
That's exactly what we wanted to do. Yeah, we wanted to sort of reframe it, take ownership of the word, back from it being something salacious, and give it new meaning, and something that brings pride instead of fear.
I really love that the hotel has this kind of concept of humankind as family, and it is a family-owned hotel, and this sort of ethos that is being shaped by those things. I think it means a lot more that you're not just a business trying to do what businesses do, but you have a vision and you really are sort of planting yourself in the heart and culture of your city. I think that's something that I would love to see more.
Thank you.
I think that's what we love about historic or impactful hotels. I mean, our podcast is hotel history, but we also want to see the hotels that are going to make history happen now. And I feel like this is one of those hotels. And what we've always been discussing, it's like hotels aren't just some place that you go and sleep. They're so impactful in the culture, in the politics of the city, in the business and the economy. Like, that's what we love to hear and talk about. And your hotel sounds like exactly those things. Like, it's going to be around for a long time because it is the pulse of what all those things are in a hotel in Nairobi.
Speaking of Nairobi being the heart of this hotel, it's a very vibrant city. It's got, economic vitality, art, fashion, tech, all kinds of dining. So how does Tribe Hotel sort of capture that and maybe even kind of move it forward?
We've kind of made it our mission to sort of fill the gaps in Nairobi. We've lived in other cities where you have more opportunities for cultural activities like theater performances, art exhibitions, and concerts and things like that. And also on the culinary side, when we started, Nairobi didn't really have much to offer on the culinary side. It was quite stale. And I think there was a wave of energy. It wasn't just us. There was a few other entrepreneurs and business owners who all sort of started at the same time. And there was a sort of a first wave of interesting concepts, nice design, and people that really focus on building a culture around sort of recreation, entertainment, performance, and arts. And so we were part of that movement. We wanted to be a group that moved it forward. So one of the first things we did was we started a fashion show. And it's the longest running fashion show in Kenya. We have it every year. And next year is going to be our 15th annual fashion show.
Oh, wow.
Because we skipped a couple of years.
Oh, COVID?
Yeah.
Do you do it during like fashion week? Because right now I think it's like fashion time, at least in New York.
It is, yeah. Yeah. So actually this year we had it at the same time as New York Fashion Week, but it's never intentional. That's not something that we planned. We always wanted to do it the week before Valentine's Day because we thought that we always do like a pop-up market after the show, where the designers can sell their designs as well. And so we always put it the week before Valentine's Day so that people could grab gifts. And so that's changed now because we had a lot of international press interest in the event. They said that we really want to come, but we can never come at that time because it's the same time as New York Fashion Week. So next year we're going to put it in the first week of March. So if you want to come,
we would love to come. Yeah.
Save us a seat.
Yeah.
I read that you view hotels as part logistics, part theater, and part game theory. Can you kind of go a little into detail on that?
I mean, it is certainly very much a performance, and understanding people's needs is at the center of everything, right? Or people's desires is the center of everything we do. And I'll give you an example. Nairobi is quite an intimidating city for people who haven't visited here before. And our largest market is American. When Americans look at Nairobi or Kenya, it's a big deal to make this trip, and they're never really sure about what they can read, what they can trust online, and who to ask for advice, and where to get the right information. So we came up with our Chieftains program, and the Chieftains program is essentially like it's a concierge, but a little bit different because that person, our chieftains, are allowed to accompany guests around the city, and they can take them to check out nightlife if they want to do that. They can take them to art galleries, but I think it goes a step further as well, in that we're not just recommending galleries or taking people to galleries. We're actually introducing them to the artists, and creating a really sort of personal connection between what's happening on the ground in Nairobi and the guest who's visiting. So instead of people looking at the city from the lens of like a website or a blog or something like that, they're much more engaged. And we thought, okay, well, we have this program now. What should they look like? So who should these personalities be? Our chieftains, and so they're all like from the nightlife industry. Some of them are actors. Some of them are artists. Some of them used to be involved in fashion, and they all have like their own very striking personality and looks. But we also designed uniforms for them that were by a very highly celebrated Kenyan fashion designer. And they're these big, really bold, cool uniforms, like suits that are embroidered with flowers and birds and things like that. So that's part of the theater that we're creating, right? We're just sort of accentuating what the best is of what Kenya has to offer, and that's how we're presenting it. We're also just so tired of the narrative that Kenya is poor or that it's dependent on other countries. There's so much pride, there's so much dignity and creativity over here, and that's what we want to showcase.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So that sounds like a really great way that Tribe kind of helps its guests connect with the local Nairobi community. Are there any other ways that the hotel does that?
I mean, a lot of it now for the last year has been directed through the Chieftains program, and we're continuously building on the program and just looking at different aspects of Nairobi and Kenya to see what is Kenya great at. Like our coffee is one of the best in the world. How do we create an experience around coffee? Same with our tea, same with our marathon runners, right? Our marathon runners are world famous. So as part of our Chieftains program, we can pair our guests up with a former world record holding marathon runner, and he will run with the guests. It's like a 2.5 hour experience. And he's one of the kindest people on the planet. This person, his name's Patrick Macau, and he held the world record for 2 years. So you're running with someone who's really at the top of their sport.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I always wondered about that. Like, yeah, Kenya has the best runners. And I remember one year, well, I'm sure that's more than 1 year, but in the New York Marathon, like there was a famous Kenyan runner. I don't know if it's the same guy, maybe, but I was just like, wow, they're so good. Is it, I know that they say like also in Colorado, like the elevation is higher and that can make someone a better runner if that's how you're training. Is the elevation in Kenya or Nairobi like that? I have no idea. I'm just asking.
Yeah, actually almost identical to Denver.
Oh.
Our altitude in Nairobi. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I can't believe that was true.
Yeah. And there are places where the runners actually train, which is higher than Nairobi even. And they say that that's that's now become a city or a town that really attracts people who are interested in running. It's called Iten, and it's about maybe 3 hour drive from Nairobi. Beautiful place.
I feel like Kenya is one of those places people need to see like before they die. Like people always talk about, you got to go here, you got to go there. And every time I read about it, I'm like, this place looks gorgeous. It looks amazing.
Yeah, especially there's like an urban forest there, right?
Yeah, that's like really close to where we are. It's like a 10-minute walk from the hotel.
Oh, wow.
And it's the largest urban forest in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like running paths, and it's got waterfalls, caves with like cave art in it. It's a pretty impressive place.
So you could run through the largest urban forest in the world with a world record marathon holder.
Yeah, exactly.
Or with someone who has a really cute outfit. I'm kidding. It just sounds like Kenya has everything right now, like the nature, the fashion, the people, the culture, the food. Like it sounds amazing.
It's a very special country. And, you know, people don't talk about the beaches enough over here. The beaches are incredible. Nairobi's a very cool city that's largely underrated. You know, there's so much happening over here on the creative scene, on the culinary scene now. It's an exciting place to be.
Since you are from there and you've seen it change throughout the years, how is Nairobi different today than it was 30, 40 years ago or even 10 years ago?
So when I was growing up over here, it felt very small, quaint, but also very safe and very just sort of beautiful everywhere. You know, it's an extremely green city. There used to be a lot of space, and now it's sort of become quite a global city and like a metropolis, sprawling, and you know, with big highways and big buildings and all that, which we didn't really have so much of when I was growing up here. But that brings with it all the benefits of a big city as well, you know, all the cultural side and the excitement and the energy, which is something that I look for anywhere I travel to. And the one thing that I'm really grateful for is actually Karura Forest, because it's a sanctuary for Nairobi, right? It's this huge green space in the middle of the city, or at least on our side of the city, that is just peaceful. And it's quiet. It's a place where if you go in there, you're not going to hear any cars. You don't hear any traffic or anything like that. You barely see people. And it's just such a safe place to walk around and enjoy. I think every city should have one.
If only.
Yes. Yes. LA has plenty of nature, but you cannot escape the traffic sound. You can still hear it.
You can't. Nah, maybe not. You got to be really deep in.
Yeah, you got to be really deep in the Angeles forest not to hear it.
So Nairobi sounds like it's changed a lot in the past, few decades. Has the hospitality landscape changed since, specifically for the hotel, since it's open to today?
Very much so. So when we opened, like I said, we were the first hotel to open in 30 years in Nairobi. And so traditionally, hotels in the city had very formal traditional service. It was kind of like a white glove, yes, ma'am, yes, sir kind of culture. So we were the first hotel to sort of break away from that. We said that this doesn't represent Nairobi. This isn't our culture, or the city that we know. It was very sales, subservient, traditional. And yet the city was so vibrant. There was all this energy and all this creativity. So when we opened, we said we're not going to hire anyone from the hospitality industry. And so we hired students who had just graduated from hotel school, and then people from all other industries, from all other walks of life. And we put everyone through 5 months of training, which involved etiquette training, skills training. And the program that we put them through was a company from England who trains CEOs on things like confidence and how to interact with groups and how to start a conversation. And so from top to bottom, from our gardeners and our security to our general manager, absolutely everyone in our organization went through that training. And that really sort of formed the culture for our property. But then it also became something that became very sought after. Our team members became the most high valued people in the industry in Kenya. So there were people that were targeted by other properties that were opening up, by existing properties. And it was something that was sort of very well known because they'd been through this program. But still, what's we've retained, even though a lot of those people have moved on to other positions, is that we created this really close family of very dedicated professionals who are just good people.
Wow.
And that's what we wanted to do.
That's a very interesting approach. Yeah, to get them to kind of have the mindset of a leader, almost like it kind of is that like if it's for a CEO, while as you said, the old program was subservient, yes sir, ma'am, and there is like maybe as I'm too American, but it makes me uncomfortable if I feel like the employee is my servant or like is treating me like we're not equals. Like be
Exactly.
professional. And, yeah, I'm like, what century are we in? I don't want to feel that way. Mm-hmm. I think the customer feels awkward, at least this day and age. I don't know, maybe older generations disagree, but I think you have a better experience when you have someone who you can relate to and have a nice conversation, and you don't feel like you're going to get them in trouble if they make one mistake or something. Like, you want to know that they're also being taken care of by their employer, when the other way of doing things, almost they kind of function out of fear. So that's really nice that you kind of were like, no, let's do it that way.
Yeah. And, the old way of doing things was that if you have a hairstyle that's different, you have to cut your hair. If you have, you can't wear jewelry, you can't have tattoos showing. And we didn't like that idea. We wanted people to be able to express themselves, show their personalities. And that was something that not only in Kenya, but I think around the world was very different when we opened, 17 years ago. It was something that was very strange to see, people with dreadlocks working in a hotel. But that was part of our culture. That's what we wanted people to show off their personalities and be able to talk about their tattoo or whatever it was that however one guest wanted to engage with them.
Yes, you've already mentioned several things that I think set you guys apart from other luxury hotels, but I think that one might be the top because personality, I think, is missing from a lot of other establishments. But it fits right in with your entire culture and ethos of if you want, if humankind is your family, well, we all are very different individuals and that should be celebrated.
Exactly. And that's from the beginning, the point that we've been trying to drive to everyone. And, when we started the property, there was a lot of misinformation about the gay community. There was, it's still not easy for the gay community in Kenya. We wanted our hotel to be really a sanctuary for gay people to be able to find meaningful work, and also for guests who are from the LGBTQ plus community to also be able to, feel comfortable and feel that they're welcomed and they're just as welcome as anyone else who's coming to that hotel. And it took a lot of early conversations because of sort of cultural misinformation that existed at the time. So I remember one big conversation that we had with our sales manager, who, when I said that, we were being featured in a magazine that was for the queer community, and he said, "Oh, that's terrible. What if people find out?" I said, "We want people to find out. This is exactly what we want. This is our entire message: is that everyone's equal and that everyone's welcome over here." So yeah, absolutely. And so we had to have a big town hall meeting with the whole team and really discuss go back to the roots of what we were talking about is what does it mean to be equal to each other? What does it mean to have the same rights as each other? And so when we came out of that meeting, everyone really had like this warm, fuzzy feeling about it, and it really changed things.
That's great that you address those issues, because I think oftentimes, at least today, someone would have dismissed them, and rather than having that important conversation and say, hey, remember, this is our main goal. And it sounds like it ended up really well. And, having
Very
those
much so,
difficult
yeah.
conversations are really important.
Yeah, and we've seen over and over that hotels are always at the center of various social movements. And I think this is a good example of it, even at the microcosm, even at the small individual establishment level. Like, you can make these differences and have these conversations.
And I think it was important for us, not only for that community in particular, but just people that were put at a disadvantage socially in general in Kenya. Even people with, disabilities as well. I remember we had an application from someone who was an amputee, very charming guy. But, when we brought his CV and he'd come in for the interview, the team was sort of saying, we love the guy. He has such a great personality, but, this is such an intensive job. What can we offer him? And we said, well, a telephone operator doesn't need to be on his feet the whole time. How can we create this position for him where he is sort of proud to be a telephone operator? And he loved it. And, we found out later that he's a professional dancer. He's a professional soccer player in a league in Turkey now. Yeah, he's such an exceptional human, and it's such a privilege to have him sort of be a part of our team for a short time.
I think that's a great example of how, if you think you can't be like the change in the world, think again, kind of like as someone who does the hiring, someone who creates the culture. I've seen this a lot in some places where either they're like, this is how it is, so we don't want to change, or, it's so fascinating where it's just, you give someone a chance and it changes everything, not just for them, but for you. It sounds really cool to work at your hotel since you're so open-minded and accepting of all people.
I think we've had the good fortune of having really exceptional people work with us. I think it's, even this idea for the chieftains, it's not something that I came up with. It was something that was developed by the team. It's a concept they created, which I love that about, working with the team that we have. And even when you look at, the tough times that we had during COVID, it was their sort of exceptional creativity that really got us through the time.
Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about, we've mentioned that there's some great dining in Nairobi, but what about Tribe's restaurant? How does it shape the Tribe experience, and what does it bring to the table?
So when we first opened, we had a British chef, very, very, very nice guy. His food just wasn't what I was hoping for. And when it came to sort of creating a program, it was very sort of, again, very traditional food that, unfortunately, that's not something that you can really source someone from an alternative industry to come into a chef position. That has to be like someone who's a chef. You need a chef for that position. And so we worked with him for a couple of years, and then we had the opportunity to work with a couple of Italian chefs who were exceptionally creative and really did something special to our hotel, which was get people thinking outside of that traditional box. And we worked with them for several years. And then around, or just before COVID, the chef that we were working with, who was Italian, decided to move back to Italy and open a restaurant there. So we parted ways, and we started developing a new concept because we were renovating the whole Tribe. And we said, well, it doesn't make sense to have an Italian chef or an Italian restaurant in something that's so proudly African? How can we create a restaurant that really amplifies what African food is about? What African flavors are, what Kenyan cuisine is about. And so we started working on a menu for that. And I remember taking a shopping cart and delivering it to our executive chef. And it had a whole bunch of indigenous ingredients and spices and things like baobab and moringa and different chilies and things like that. And delivered this shopping cart to the chef and said, get creative with this. Let's create something that's really cool. And he took the challenge on. And him and the team started working on things. And they did something really creative, which was they looked internally and they started asking their own team members, their own colleagues, what were the recipes that you remember from your childhood, from the village you grew up in, the home you grew up in. What did your grandmother make? And those are the recipes that they started recreating. And then they got creative with that and started adding different spices from around Africa to it and different flavors. And so what we've ended up with is something that is unique to our restaurant. It's not an adaptation of a type of cuisine. It's something that is Pan-African. It's flavors from around the continent. And it's in dishes that are familiar, but presented in a completely different way.
I looked at some of the photos on the website. It looks delicious.
Yeah.
But no, that makes a lot more sense. This, Pan-African concept definitely fits better, I think, than Italian.
Yeah. But in general, what we've tried to do with our food and beverage concepts, because we have several restaurants outside of the hotel, is that we've been looking at gaps in the market to sort of understand what Nairobi doesn't do very well or what it's lacking entirely, and how can we fill that gap. So a current concept that I'm working on is an American diner, because we don't have one in Nairobi.
That makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Watch us. It's like the best American diner ever. Like, if you want to go to an American diner, actually go to Africa.
Yeah, so we're excited to present that in a way that's quite authentic. We've always looked at it as though if it's the first time that we're presenting cuisine, then we should do it in an authentic way. And if it exists already and it's done well in Nairobi, then how can we present it in a different way?
So I imagine you guys must have the opportunity to collaborate a lot with local artists and chefs and other creative people with all of these different projects.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very central to what we built the hotel for, and all our businesses in general. Even the shopping mall that my dad built 30 years ago, it has art from all over the country exhibited throughout the mall. But we really wanted our company in general and the hotel in particular to be a platform for the arts from the beginning. And so we constantly have concerts going on in there. You could walk into the lobby and there'll be an opera singer performing, or a fashion show, or a music video being shot. These are all things that we've always wanted to support, and it was very central to what we believe in.
It sounds like there's always events going on.
There's a lot going on.
I just want to go back to the food for a second. If, let's say, someone has a few hours in Nairobi and they're coming to your hotel, what is a dish you would recommend that every guest should try? Like, you've got to try this one if this is the thing you're going to eat there.
I would say, so we have a dish that it's called kondo mchuzi, and it's a lamb dish. It's like a lamb curry, and traditionally, or lamb stew, and traditionally in Kenyan cuisine, you have all these components sort of separately. You have lamb stew, and then you have maize meal, which is kind of the staple in the country. It's like a white cake made out of corn. And then you have like a spinach or kale family member or family relation that is, and it's all sort of these different components that are eaten together. What we did is we combined it all into a pie and put pastry over it. And so it's all these different flavors, but they actually go so well together in this pie. And so that's become quite a signature dish for us because, again, it's something that's very familiar as a flavor to people here, but it's presented in a completely different way that challenges what they know about that dish.
That sounds really delicious. It also sounds very American because it's in a pie.
Yeah.
I just think anything that's in a pie is the most American thing.
We like getting weird.
It sounds good. It's the fusion, the creativity.
So, what do you hope guests feel or take away after staying at Tribe?
I hope they feel a sense of the pride of Kenyans, the dignity of the culture, and the love for sort of sharing their culture that they're so proud about, and a sort of an appreciation for a civilization that knows so much about creativity, that knows so much about flavor, and also about generosity. Those are all things that I'd love to impart to all our guests who come through our doors.
What should people know about visiting Nairobi, specifically like Kenya in general? And this is my own personal question. As an American, do I need a visa? Like, I kind of need to know the logistics.
To many people, it's such a daunting thing, but actually it's like traveling to New York from where you are, right? Yes, you need to apply for travel authorization. They don't want to call it a visa, but that's exactly what it is. But it's a pretty simple online process to apply for the Kenyan ETA. There's a direct flight from New York. I think what you'd want to understand is sort of the neighborhood that you're going to be staying in. Like any city, you want to be in an area that makes sense for what your interests are. You know, the central business district of Nairobi it's sort of the financial hub of the region, but it's not a great place to sort of walk around and see the sights. There's not much going on there at night, and it's kind of a bit eerie. Whereas there are other areas in the city, and particularly where Tribe is located as well, where there's plenty of stuff going on. You know, there's restaurants between our two hotels. There's over 50 restaurants within walking distance. So our two hotels are located 800 yards apart from each other.
Oh, you have a second hotel.
Oh, yeah. I have a second hotel, managing a third hotel, and opening two more in the next year and a half.
Wow.
For someone without a background in hospitality, you've really taken it on.
So all in Nairobi, the hotels.
So the current ones are all in Nairobi, and then we're actually expanding outside of Nairobi for the first time. We're opening something at the beach next year, and that's going to be a managed property. And then we're opening something in Masai Mara, which is going to be a property that we own. That's a safari property.
Masai Mara? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like full National Geographic. That's where like you see all the animals. It's like the best place in the world for safari.
Wow. Have you do you go to safari often?
Yeah, a few times a year. This year, maybe 4, I think 3 or 4 so far.
I guess because like you're so close by, why not?
Yeah, but it's also something that's really enjoyable. And, you know, I must have been on hundreds of safaris now, and it's never the same experience twice. It's something that will instantly sort of transport you to a different frame of mind, you know, from having such a busy life that's so connected to like the phone in our hands and our laptops and, you know, and files and emails and all sorts of things, constantly being in touch with things, to just being around nature and sort of being in awe of what's around you. And it really gives you perspective. You know, if you think that you're someone who's been successful or, had some kind of privilege or enjoyed success in some capacity. When you're out in nature, it really doesn't matter at all. When you're out in a safari car and you're surrounded by complete nothingness, there's not a building in sight. There's not, a billboard or anything like that. There's no one trying to advertise to you.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a very special experience, actually.
That sounds like a really great way to actually remember what it is to be human at its essence.
Seriously.
Exactly.
Because you've been on so many safaris. What's your favorite animal?
I have to say an elephant.
Oh, yes. Love it.
And they're such beautiful animals. And they're, once you spend time with elephants, you understand how intelligent they actually are and how intuitive they are. I have a huge respect for elephants.
Thank you so much for spending the hour and talking. And it was fascinating listening to how you run things, and you're doing amazing things with your hotel and other hotels. And we're both really excited to learn more about what's coming up in the future. And one day to actually go and visit. That would be amazing.
Thank you so much. This is so fun. And I really hope you come visit us and come and experience Kenya for yourselves. It's a magical place, and we'll be ready for you when you come. We'd love to show you.
Thanks for listening to Hotel History. You can follow us on most social media platforms, Patreon, and Substack by searching for Hotel History or Hotel History Podcast. To connect or collaborate with us, check out our website at hotelhistorypodcast.com. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so we can reach more listeners.